to do with you if we have any say in it. And apparently they did. Translink has a massive image problem. Remember, I want to underline this. When we draw a line in marketing between reality and perception, my old line, reality doesn't matter to a damn, perception's everything. Look, they have an image problem. Now, whether it's their fault or they want to blame media or somebody else, I don't care. They got a bad image problem. The phrase I use is we call it negative attribution. They have a bit of a long litany of negative reactions, perceptions that have built up against them over the last number of years. That's what came home to haunt them. That's why they lost the vote. What's happened is through social network systems, blogs, internet, YouTube, you're able to build massive community input. And that has been able to galvanize the community. Trust me, I can point out now to corporations and governments everywhere that are running for cover because they're now facing some of this backlash that's coming out of social network systems. And it's not going to go away. It's only going to get bigger. They still can't believe that it's their image that people don't like. It's perception of them that people have a problem with. Apparently, they want to stick their head in the sack and keep blaming everybody else or everything else. And all I can tell you is somebody over in that business needs to get an introductory course in marketing, and I do mean damn quick.
Board President and board members. I'd like to perhaps cover my comments this morning maybe into three sections. You'll have a report in front of you, specifically the vehicle system and reliability section. I'll talk a little bit about service delivery and finally around operator support. Then open up for any questions, of course, you may have. Specifically on the vehicle system reliability side of it, the performance on the bus maintenance of way over the last quarter and the whole fair equipment side of things. In terms of the maintenance, all the preventive maintenance was done or exceeded all the targets, so I think the team did a very good job in that area. In terms of the rail equipment maintenance, the preventative maintenance dropped by 5.4%. Compared over last year, it was over 12%. That was really attributable to, if you can recall this before I was here back in October, there was a number of vehicles, about 19 of them, that had water, a water situation. So the team did a lot of tremendous work catching that up. And some of the preventive maintenance initially fell on the regular preventative maintenance. However, the team deserves a lot of credit, and having worked in other transit agencies, they were working a lot of overtime to not only take care of those 19 vehicles, which are all back in service now, but also catch all the regular preventive maintenance up. So the results are low, but I think you'll see those recover here over the next quarter or so. The fixed route for the bus and miles for comparing Q4 15, you see that has improved, so some good results there. I think you're seeing that probably attributed to the average age of the fleet. A number of years ago was a lot higher. We're tracking around 8.9 years for the fleet average now, so some really nice progress and reflected in the results you see in front of you. One of the other challenges, again, was on the rail side. You'll see this theme overall over the last number of months. Rail is really the area as we get into on-time performance, things that the organization has been spending a lot of time on and needs to continue to spend a lot of important focused time on, because that's something that directly relates to the customer experience in terms of the trust that they place in our hands. But the mean distance between failure dropped by just under 28% in the last quarter. Attribute that to probably a few things. One is the breaking in of new vehicles since the opening of the Orange Line. That's not uncommon. There's always bugs and things that you only get through running them a lot of miles into the covered full warranty coverage. There are a lot of modifications underway working with our partner Siemens, and you'll see a lot of modifications, downloading software, replacing components and such, again, only through making the vehicles work in service. And that would also be, and the other one is we're also going through a lot of Type 1 of the early vehicle overhauls. 2 are still being worked on right now, 3 are in progress still to work their way into the queue. Again, that's not uncommon for a 30-plus year old vehicle fleet. The second area is around service delivery. I won't comment much on the fixed bus route side because that's essentially flat for the sake of 0.7% compared to last year at this time. And as Neil mentioned, we'll be coming to the board in March 9th to deal specifically with what are our plans around on-time performance and how are we going to deal with it. We are coming off in the back end of the quarter in December was one of the lowest months of on-time performance in the agency at 75% for the month. Since that time, over the last 30 days rolling period, and this is attributable to the focus the team's been putting on on-time performance, and some of this goes back about a year plus, so a lot of these things are in the pipeline of longer term fixes. Capital, policy, procedures, and the people side of it. But the on-time performance over the last 30 days, in fact, has increased significantly from, say, a low of 75% in December to just under 85% right now, so almost a 10-point swing. Still early days. We've got to stabilize the on-time performance side of it first, and then continue to build on this with the goal of getting to that 90% range over some time. The on-time performance overall, from my perspective, is we have about 2/3 of the incidents we control directly inside Trimet. Could be infrastructure, could be people practices, could be our policies and procedures, how we do things, if you will. The other third are a lot of external elements, weather, nature. We had one circumstance where a tree fell and we were out for 4 hours. So I think part of the process of how do we fix that is it's not good enough to be down for 4 hours because a tree fell down. So we're working with our partners, and I think we've seen some good success. And so we'll bring the chainsaws out a lot sooner, if you will, should that happen again. But it does attribute to new operators. About a third of our operators are all new within the last year and a half or so. So if you talk to some of your top operators around, it typically takes them 4 to 5 years just to learn the nuances of the system, the peculiarities of it. And we have a 9-week training program. Now you add on top of that the extension of the Orange Line and a complexity of a Tillicum Bridge, etc. So they're coming up to speed very quickly. But ways we're remedying it is going to be putting more trainers to specifically help coach them, but specifically targeting not only to be safe, which is a given and it's a premise, but to how do you be safe and get yourself up the learning curve like any of us would anytime we're taking something new on. So we're trying to compress that learning time frame as we run more and more trains over a lot of the same tracks. Neil's already spoken about the West on-time performance. It did take a drop from 94.1 to from 95.5 comparative year over year. That was really attributed to, they did have some flooding. If you can recall back, the fall was pretty challenging weather-wise here in this region. West was not exempt from that, and so the host railway had some challenges, and therefore we're part of that partnership, and so did we. We're also going through some positive train control, the technology installment, and that's caused some challenges there, in addition to some switches and signal issues. We expect this very much to recover, though. I think it's a short-term burst. All in all, West's on-time performance has been very, very strong for the agency. The system-wide boarding rides per hour decreased about 6.8%. I think Neil spoke about this earlier. We think a lot of it is attributed to fuel prices. However, we need to be cognizant of the fact that since the on-time performance of that period has been lower for a number of months, I think that's a contributing factor. From the recent awareness survey we did with our customers, it showed that there was still quite strong resilience, and it really didn't change much in terms of their satisfaction with the performance. However, we are doing some follow-up research to try and get to any underlying issues that might be related to on-time performance, specifically into customer satisfaction. We just don't want to take it for granted. Again, I will speak about on-time performance on a lot more thorough basis at the upcoming March 9th basis, but we are focusing on, I'll give you an example of several key areas. One is operator training, which I've spoken about. There are some engineering expertise that we're looking to tap into with Dan Blocker's team. We are looking at signal yard departures. We're looking at terminus. How do you get in and out of the terminus on time quicker? The operating control center and our training, I think, are a couple key areas where those are internal working issues that we really are putting under the microscope right now. I think there's some good opportunities, but some of that will be cultural and take time ahead. But some of it will be covered in our operating budget around extra resources and some of the leadership in the control room. Okay. And finally, the last point I would make would be around the max operator complaints. That increased, if you look at the data, from 4.1% to 6% comparing year over year. We think that's related specifically to some of the on-time performance challenges we've had, and also the fact that we've got new operators out there learning doors, learning switches, and I think that's probably temporary in nature. The commendations overall, though, between bus and rail have actually gone up very, very significantly as a positive, how they're actually managing some of those customer relationship issues, which is really favorable. In fact, I would point out on the rail side, it's up over 50%. Comparing year over year. So mixed results in my mind. I think some of the root cause issues would be really driven by that on-time performance issue, which I will report back. That would conclude my comments.